Hey guys, so in this episode we'll make some very simple UVs for this character so we can add some textures. Let's get started. So first thing you want to do is you want to make sure you press 1 on your model. So just select everything and press 1, because when you press 3 in the UV editor it's going to be slow. To open the UV editor, just click this button here, UV editor. It's also under the UV menu called UV editor. And if we select our geometry here, you can see it's going to look like this. It's a big mess because as you make objects, they have UVs, and as you do operations, those UVs will break. So first thing we need to do is create some kind of a projection to start with. So I'm just going to move this to the side. If I select my geometry here and I'm going to go into UV and go to planar mapping, I'm going to open the options for planar. And what this will do is just project a plane across our geometry. So I'm going to use the, if I press W, you can see I have the Z direction, the blue one, facing us. So I want to project in that direction. So I'm going to press the Z axis. I'm going to use bounding box. Best plane will use like faces that are most, a plane that's aligned to most of the faces. So we want bounding box. And you want to use keep image with height ratio usually on. So I'm going to do that and just hit apply. And you can see in our UV view, it's going to look like this. Now the problem is if you open up the UV editor and yours looks like this, we have all these numbers here. For me, this is a bit confusing. Just press W in here. If you go to view, under grid, click the options button, and then in the options for grid lines, set this to 0.5. Like that. You want lengthen with 10 and grid lines 0.5, hit apply. For me this is a bit easier because I know that the center is right there, so if I need to snap my UVs to a center, it's really easier to do here. It's just less cluttered. Okay, a couple things we can turn on here. So this button here will turn on border edges. This button will show us shaded view. So in here this is shaded. Now what it's showing us is that the back of this is red and the front is blue, and the reason is we projected from the front, so the back of our model, the back faces are red. It's showing us the back faces, and in here they look purple because blue and red make purple. Okay, so let's move on from here. So right now this is one shell. Like if I try and pull this apart and shift greater than will grow my selection, you can see it's all connected. So, and to select UVs in UV editor, you right click, click UV. So in the viewport in 3D view, you right click, go to vertex to select vertices. But if you want to work with UVs in the UV view, you have to select UV, right click UV. Okay, so what we need to do right now is isolate some edges that we can cut. And I'm looking for like right angle edges or edges that are corners, kind of like seams on clothes. So double click this edge, so right click, go to edge, then shift double click this edge, go to cut and sew in the menu here and select cut, and you can see we have a white line now. So this is the border edge line, and it's telling us that this has been cut. Now what we need to do is we need to separate the ears, and the best way to unwrap it is to cut along a seam. So I'm gonna left click this edge, then hold shift, go to this end of the ear and double click this edge. And if I now click cut and cut, you can see I have a edge cut here now. And what we're trying to do is just trying to unwrap it, keeping one edge still here, and unwrap it kind of like a sock. Now if you had symmetry on, the same thing would happen to the other ear, but let's start, let's just do it on this ear as well. So right click, click on edge, select this edge here, shift, double click this edge, it's going to make a loop, cut and sew, cut, there. So now if I right click, click on UV, grab a selection like this. Now I want to move this shell. So if I try and move like this, you can see it's going to move just those UVs. So if I hold control and then right click, it brings up the convert menu. So I can now convert, so hold control, right click, and I can convert this to a UV shell selection. And because we cut it, the shell is only that. So select a couple UVs here, hold control, right click to shell, and just move it up like that. we can try unwrapping this now. Go to modify and click unfold. And there it is. So you can see what it did, it unwrapped it. And if we look at our model now, it's blue on the ears because there are no back faces now. Everything is unwrapped correctly. Okay. Now the head, what we want to do is we want to preserve the face because that's what probably the most of the detail is going to go. So I'm going to find like a hairline, even though it doesn't have any hair, but I'm going to find the hairline, which is here, and then go to on the bottom here, press forward just for wireframe. I'm going to shift double click this edge. Now what's going to happen is it's going to find the shortest edge length. So this is the opposite that we want to do. So I'm going to double click this edge to select the whole loop, hold control and deselect here, hold control and then drag a selection like this. So I'm basically deselecting the edges I don't want. And what I'm trying to do is just make a seam on the back, which it'll be the least seen seam. And then go to cut and sew and click cut. Select the head, modify, and unfold. It's going to unfold like this. Alright, that looks good. Now we just need to kind of line it up a little bit. So to UV shell, rotate like that. Now there's a couple tricks you can do here. Let's say I want to unwrap it and I want to keep this seam perfectly straight. If I go to the align, sorry, let's move this over. If I go to the align and snap drop down here menu, there's a couple align buttons. So this one here will align all of these UVs along a straight line. So click that, that's aligned now. So if I hold shift and drag a selection over the shell without selecting this edge now, and then click unfold, it's going to unwrap it around this edge, leaving that edge completely stationary. And this is going to be pretty much symmetrical. So you can do the same with the ears. So if we line them up as straight as possible, then select the center here, make it straight, then shift select, and then modify, unfold. And you can see it just kind of straightens it out a little bit. Do the same with this one. Line this up, straighten this, shift select that, modify, unfold again. And then what I want to do is I want to make sure everything's kind of symmetrical, or not symmetrical, just kind of in the same plane, so that if let's say I paint this ear, I can flip it exactly to the other side to paint that ear. So I'm going to hold X, drag here, hold X on this selection, hold X, middle drag here. So now I know they're in the same line, and what holding X did is it snapped it to the grid. Now if I move them close together like this, just in horizontal, I can then select both, now hold X and snap here. So now I know they're both symmetrical. Same with this. To shell, hold X, move it there. I'm going to move this down and move this down. And I'm using just the arrows to move. I know this is going to be nice and perfect. Like that. And I want to be inside 0 to 1 space, from 0 to 1 like that. Okay. Alright, now let's do the body. So it's the same thing. I'm going to press this button. This will isolate the body. We'll have a little mistake here. I'm going to fix this quick. So I guess when I mirrored it, this got merged. So I'm going to hold just use the multi-cut tool, drag a selection, click it again, drag a selection, drag on this edge, and then if I hold shift and drag, I can put a 50% there, hold shift and then drag on that edge, and the same on this side. Oops. Hit delete when you mess up, like that, like that. Delete these extra edges. And then if you want to round this off, just select these guys and then just scale from the middle. Like that. And I have a couple stray vertices there. Get rid of those. Okay, so I'm going to double click this edge here and then go to cut and sew and click cut. Now I can also select in here as well. So if I right click here, click on UV, select this UV, go back into UV view, hold control right click and click to shell. That's going to select that shell. I can move it over and go to modify, unfold, and there it is. Okay, so that's good. Now the legs, double click where they connect, cut that. I'm going to double click this edge and double click this edge and cut those as well. And then I'm going to use the seam in the middle of the legs, cut and cut. I just pressed G to redo the last command. So the body itself, what we can do, you can keep it together connecting on one side, but I think if we cut along the sides here, it'll be easier to paint on. And cut. I'm going to select everything together, go to modify and unfold. So we have now, if you look here, you can see what's selecting. That's the body. Rotate this, just eyeballing it. Oops. Like that. These are the legs. So that's the right leg, left leg. And we should rotate them this way. That's the top, and that's the bottom. What is that? Oh, that did not unfold, so that's okay. We'll unfold that now. Modify, unfold. So they're not unfolding. They're probably too small. Something got messed up there. That's fine. So for this, I'm going to go into UV, planar, and we'll do a Y projection, hit apply. We need to make sure that's selected. We need to project onto faces. So hold Control, right click to faces, like that, and then do it again. Planar. And there we go. So you can see they're red. That's because we projected from the top down, but we're actually, the faces are actually inverted, so we need to flip them. So we're going to transform, and there's a flip. We want to flip vertical and flip like that. Okay, so those are good. So I want to do the same here. So I'm going to do something a little different here because I want to keep this line straight and this one, and also the center. So first I'm going to select this line and go to transform, align and snap, click this, shift select, and then modify, unfold. Now if you use a menu often, you can just move it here. You can click the little dots there and drag it out like that, so that it's always there. And then I'm going to select this edge, go to UVs, hold Control, deselect it here because it's on both sides. And then you can see the buttons here. I'm going to click this button. This will align it up to the top. So then I'm going to hold Control Shift, select this edge as well. So this is straight and this is straight, and then Shift select the outside, and then go to modify and unfold, and you can see what it'll do. Now if you want to keep the sides straight as well, so it's easier to paint the seams out, you can do that as well. So select this, and this one we're going to align to the left, this one align to the right. So we just need to select the interior UVs like this and deselect the center, and then click right here, unfold, like that. So now this is nice and straight. We're going to do the same to this one. Sorry, I'm used to going like this to make to go to shell, but they changed in the latest version of Maya to down here. So I just need to adjust my. Okay, align this to the top. Actually, we need to first align the center. So click center, unfold, then select this, deselect that. This will go to the top. that. Unfold. And then this, I'm gonna just do center like that, I think. See, it kind of comes out a little bit, so I'm gonna move it over, and then move it to the, and then snap to the right, because this point on top is in the center of these UVs, so we need to kind of push them over to the side so we can align just to that UV. And deselect the center and unfold. So now it's easier to paint the seam out there, and this is nice and straight. Okay, so that's done. This one doesn't really matter too much. You won't see it. It'll be behind. It'll be underneath the head. This I want to center and then unfold. Now the bottom of the feet I want to be straight, because I want to paint on the bottom and I want to make this line straight. So I'm going to do the same thing that I did on the body, and I'm going to go let's see, two UVs like this, and deselect this foot, because the bottom of the foot is actually connected there. So when you select an edge, they're all connected. Okay, and this is going to go down. Add this, shift select that, unfold, and then move this to the left, this to the right, deselect the edges that are straight, and then unfold there. See, this is getting a little weird, so I know what the side of the foot looks like. You can see, or the leg, it kind of rolls up like that. So I'm just gonna eyeball this up. Oops, just use the move arrow. There, we can preview this by pressing this button. This will show us a checkerboard on the foot there. And if we look at this foot we didn't fix the bottom yet, and you can see what's happening is the grid is wrapping, it's going right through the bottom of the foot. So when you paint this, it's going to be harder to paint on this. But on this one, you can see it's aligned right to this edge, and it's staying nice and flat. And the seam is nice and clean. So we just need to match that on the other foot. And turn this off, because this button here, it gets a little annoying. Alright, let's do that. Press 1, that's why it's kind of freaking out because of that. Shift select, unfold. Deselect, move down, unfold, oops, shift select, and then unfold. There you go. There. Unfold, oops, shift select and unfold. There we go. And then just eyeball this up, just to make clean loops like that. So, alright, so now when I press this checker box, what you might notice is that you see how these checker boxes are much larger compared to the rest. That is because things aren't scaled to each other. So the foot and the body scales a little off. We're gonna fix this. I don't know why it's freaking out like that when I press 3. But if I scale these UVs, I want to get them to a point where the boxes are more or less the same. So if you look here, there, because we want to keep the texture, the pixels, when we paint, the same on everything. So if I select the feet here, I'm gonna scale them up or down until the scale matches the body. So scale down. That's pretty good. And then the bottoms of the feet, you can see the density is really high on that, so we need to scale those down. That's now matching. Okay, so I'm going to place this into one UV tile. You can use multiple UV tiles, that's called UDIM UV tiling or multi-UV tiling, but I think it'll be just easier for us to do it with one. Now if you want to line these up perfectly, I'm going to turn this off because it's bothering me. Hold X like this and snap. Now you can see the bottom here doesn't line up because I eyeballed the tops here. So if I want, I can move the pivot like this. Hold D and V, move the pivot down, then hold X, and then middle drag there, or left drag, same here. Like that. So now they're lined up to the grid on the bottom there. Move this over. Snap to the center. Same here. Like that. Move the pivot there, hold X, snap there, move these over like this. Select both, hold X, and just snap to the center there. I'm gonna snap this here, just move it, oops, move this down, and the feet the same. So I want to kind of lay this out so that I'm using the maximum space. I'm gonna move this here, move that there, deselect this one, move it over to the right. If I select both again, to UV shell, snap to grid, and then just move this down. Now I know they're in the center. There, like this. I can scale until I get close to the edges, but you never want to go over. And you want to be inside the 0 to 1 space, like that. Okay. So if we turn on the checkerboard, you should be able to see what it looks like. There, looks pretty good. All right, close this. Unhide the rest, pressing isolate select. Now we need to do the arms. So when you do something that's a little more complicated like the arms, it's probably a better idea just to do it on one side if it's basically the same. So I'm going to delete the right arm, just select the left arm. And I know, turn this off. So I know that I need to select the edges here that we'll use to cut. So let's actually go into object mode and isolate select it. Double click this edge, double click this edge, and then cut and sew, cut. Let's bring back modify. Okay. And then I need to cut this. So let's see, what's the best way to do it? I think that the best way to cut this would be right down here, right down this line. So let's do that. Let's do cut. And then if I select all the UVs and click unfold, it's going to look like that. I don't like the seam right in the middle there. It's going to be too visible. So I'm going to undo. I'm going to select this seam from here to here. It's going to be less visible. It's kind of out of the way. Cut, sew, cut, select, unfold. Yeah, that looks better. Oops. To shell. Just rotate it like this. Just kind of line it up. I'm not going to line up this edge. I think this is too wonky here. I think it's going to create too much distortion, so we're going to keep it. That is that, and this is the inside of the hand. So we'll line this up, place it here to maximize space. If I click the checkerboard, I can see if everything's lining up. So the inside and the outside look pretty much the same. we may want to just scale this up a little bit. And this one, definitely need to adjust the scale here, like that. Even though we don't see it, I'm still gonna line this up and just place that there. And snap it here. I'm gonna snap it here actually to this grid. Turn the grid off, the checker box off. Okay, now bring back the rest. I'm gonna duplicate the arm. I'm gonna put -1 and scale X, and then I'm gonna freeze. I'm gonna go to modify, freeze transformations, turn this off. I'm gonna rename it back to arm R, like that. But it's gonna be red. That's because it flipped. The UVs are flipped. So I'm gonna go into transform, which is somewhere here. Here it is. And what we need to do is we need to flip it in the U space and click flip there, and then hold X and snap it to this side. So if we select both arms, you can see now they're mirrors of each other. Move this over, snap it there, move it down. I'm going to select the body and place it right here next to the body. If we press the checker box again, we'll be able to see if we need to scale them up or down. Things like that. That's good. Then the head is there. Okay, so the UVs are ready for texturing. Now, right now I have 2 UV sets on the same tile. If you want to use UV tiles, that's very easy. I'm going to select the body. I want to put it on a separate tile. I'm going to right click, go to UV, select all the UVs, and then I'm going to go in the UV toolkit menu here, the toolbox, put 1 under move and click this right arrow. That's going to move it 1 UV tile. So now if we select both, we can see that we have a texture here and a texture here. So we have 2 textures now we can place, and this is ready to go. If you want to get this into like Photoshop, you can make a UV snapshot. This will take it into, it will save you an image that you can take into Photoshop or another drawing application, and it's ready to go. In the next tutorial, we'll do a quick little Photoshop texture, and just so we can see it in the viewport, and move on from there. So thank you guys for watching, and I hope to see you next time. Please leave a comment and hit the like button if you like this video. Thanks, bye.